There is something almost impossible about a butterfly's wing, not just its grace or the way it seems to carry color like whispers drifting on a summer breeze, but the way that color lives. You might think it's made of pigments just like paint or ink, but look closer, much closer. Beneath the shimmering blue of a morpho or the fire-touched orange of a monarch, the colors are built not from dye but from shape. Microscopic ridges, layered like the scales of tiny fish, bend and scatter light, a phenomenon called structural coloration. It's not color that's painted on, but color that emerges from the dance between matter and light. Each flap of a butterfly's wing is a flash of physics made gentle. Now imagine a child reaching toward a butterfly in sunlight. The wings shift in the air and the color changes. Not because the butterfly has changed, but because you have your angle, your eyes, your position in space. The creature becomes a kaleidoscope, and for a brief moment, nature seems to wink at you, as if sharing a secret about how the world works when we're not looking directly. The blues of the morpho are not painted, not stored in pigment, but born from the very folds of nanostructures, smaller than the width of a hair, which capture and toss the wavelengths of light in just the right way. Even ancient peoples noticed this magic. The Aztecs believed butterfly wings were spirits, their iridescence a sign of something between life and air. Scientists today, too, are still enchanted studying the nanostructures with electron microscopes, trying to mimic their properties in textiles, in screens, in paints that shimmer without fading. Biomimicry, they call it. But the butterfly had no name for it. It simply grew wings that worked. Evolution carved color from air. And yet not all butterflies wear bright gowns. Some are quiet, colored like bark or stone or shadow. These are survival colors, pigments this time, soft browns and muted grays made from melanin and other natural dyes. They do not shine like the morpho but hide. They whisper to predators, "I am not here." Camouflage is another language of color. In forests it is safety. In the fields it is stillness. And so, some butterflies vanish into the background while others burn like tiny comets across the landscape. Both are true. Both are beautiful. Now let us drift further into the chrysalis. Before wings are wings, they are imaginations folded within the still body of a caterpillar. Inside the cocoon, tissues dissolve, cells rearrange, and the architecture of color begins. Before the butterfly is even born, the blueprint for light-catching scales is written in protein and time. This slow unfolding, invisible to us, results in wings so thin, so delicate, they barely carry weight. But they carry brilliance. Even more astonishing, not all butterfly color is inherited like eye color or height. Some shades change with temperature, with diet, with the humidity of the world around. A single butterfly species can wear different robes in spring and in summer, adapting its palette to better survive, to better sing in sunlight or slip through shadow. Color in nature is not just beauty. It is message. It is temperature, health, attraction, warning. A vibrant blue may say, "I am strong." A warning red may whisper, "I am poison." A dusty brown may declare, "You do not see me." And when the butterfly finally lifts from the petal, wings trembling like silk in wind, the colors move with it, rippling through the air. In those fragile sails, we see not just survival but something else, a kind of celebration. The very physics of the planet folded into something that flies. Sunlight broken and reflected in a way that only life could design. It is not enough to call them decorations. Butterfly wings are symphonies of structure and light, and their colors are not painted, but played. We often forget that color in this world is not a thing but an interaction. It depends on light, on the viewer, on angle and texture. A butterfly's wing held in shadow might appear black. Held to the sun, it bursts into sapphire. That means the color was always there, or perhaps never there at all. It means that color lives not only in the wing but in the seeing, in you. It means that the butterfly's color is not fixed but fluid, a relationship between surface and sky, angle and eye. In laboratories around the world, scientists study butterfly wings not for their beauty but their secrets. They examine how such fine structures can manipulate light so efficiently, better than any man-made material. These discoveries are slowly giving rise to new inventions: ultra-thin screens, invisibility cloaks, fabrics that change hue with movement. All of it inspired by something that lives a few short weeks, flitting from flower to flower. The butterfly is more than a symbol. It is a blueprint of brilliance. And if you close your eyes now, you might feel the flutter. Not on your skin, but in your thoughts, the quiet realization that nature paints with light, not just with color. That wings thinner than paper can become portals for wonder. That something so small can carry the vastness of science inside it while still landing softly on a fingertip. The butterfly does not know it carries physics. It only knows how to fly. But we are the ones who look and marvel, who name the hues, who build microscopes to understand. And still, even when we understand, we look again, and we feel something soft inside us move. Because color is not just something to explain, it is something to feel. And butterflies remind us of that with every impossible flap of their wings. Let's drift deeper now beneath the wings themselves into the invisible threads that tie color to survival. In the natural world, color is not an afterthought. It is a signal, a language, a memory shaped by millions of years. When a butterfly's wing flashes red or blue or gold, it is not simply trying to be beautiful. It is speaking to mates, to predators, to the plants it visits, and the air it passes through. Evolution has etched these messages in microscopic ridges and pigment cells. And like all languages, they carry layers of meaning, hidden beneath first impressions. In tropical forests, where sunlight slips through leaves in golden strands, butterflies wear the brightest colors. The rainforest is a canvas of competition. Birds, frogs, beetles, flowers, all vying for attention. To stand out is to survive. But to stand out safely, one must also be honest. And so, some butterflies have evolved warning colors that say, "I taste terrible." Others have learned mimicry, the quiet art of pretending. A harmless butterfly may copy the pattern of a toxic one, borrowing safety from deception. This visual game of imitation is called Bayesian mimicry, and it unfolds silently in the dappled light of the jungle. But not all mimicry is deceit. Sometimes different toxic species agree on a common code, all adopting similar colors so that predators learn more quickly. This is Mullerian mimicry, a quiet agreement among species, written in shades of red and black, orange and white, a mutual protection pact signed in pigments and maintained through generations. Imagine how many wings have been eaten, how many shapes tested before this pact was reached. Evolution is patient. Color remembers. Beyond mimicry and warning, color also becomes love, courtship, attraction. In many butterfly species, males and females differ in their hues, a phenomenon called sexual dimorphism. The male might shimmer with ultraviolet flashes invisible to the human eye. The female may favor subtler tones, resting in shadows, waiting for the right frequency of wing beat and light. Butterflies do not sing or call out like birds. Their language is silent and often seen only by those who can detect the wavelengths they use. Some butterflies can see ultraviolet. Others detect polarized light. Their eyes are tuned not to what we see, but to a richer, stranger spectrum, a symphony of photons beyond our grasp. And what of the caterpillar who does not yet know wings? Even here, color begins. Some are green, blending with the leaves they eat. Others are covered in bold stripes, bright enough to declare danger or at least the illusion of it. A few are transparent, barely visible against the veins of a leaf. Color begins early, and it does not always end in flight. The caterpillar is already preparing, already dreaming of light. In alpine meadows, where cold clings to the flowers and the air is thin, butterflies must move quickly. Their colors help capture heat, warming their delicate bodies so they can fly. Dark wings absorb sunlight faster. And so, in these high, cold places, you'll find butterflies that wear soot-colored cloaks edged in fire. It's not for beauty, it's for life. Color is not just an ornament, it is an adaptation, a tool, a quiet survival machine. And still, sometimes, color defies logic. Some butterflies display iridescence that serves no known purpose. Their wings shift from blue to green to purple, depending on the light, a beauty too complex to reduce. Some scientists believe these colors may confuse predators. Others think they may help in mating rituals, but perhaps in some cases nature simply plays, or perhaps we haven't yet learned how to listen properly. After all, what we call unnecessary may simply be misunderstood. If you look closely at a single butterfly wing under a microscope, you will see rows of scales like shingles on a roof. Each scale is a brushstroke. Some are colored by pigments molecules that absorb certain wavelengths of light. Others are shaped in such a way that they scatter light instead, creating color without dye. This is structural color. It can shimmer. It can vanish at certain angles. It can hold more than one hue at once. And it is often more vibrant, more resistant to fading, than pigment alone. The most vivid blues and greens in the butterfly world are rarely the result of pigment. They are architecture crafted by evolution over millennia, through tiny changes passed from parent to egg to wing. And the questions go even deeper. How does the butterfly build such a wing? The answer lies in the chrysalis, that silent temple of transformation. Inside, the caterpillar melts, cells die, others awaken. Imaginal discs, small, dormant clusters of cells, begin to divide and grow. These discs become wings, legs, antennae. They know what to do. They follow ancient instructions written in DNA, inherited from ancestors who flew in the warm light of the Cretaceous, when dinosaurs still thundered across the earth. The blueprint of color is not simple. It is coded not only in genes, but in how genes are turned on and off. Environmental cues like temperature or light can change how colors appear. In some species, butterflies raised in cooler temperatures develop darker wings. In others, stress can shift patterns. It is as though the butterfly's life, its surroundings, its memories leave fingerprints on its colors. Epigenetics, scientists call it, a dance between genes and the world. Let's float for a moment above the fields where butterflies drift like petals on the wind. Watch how they move, not in straight lines but in flickers and spirals like leaves caught in a breeze. Their flight paths are unpredictable, evasive. This too is part of their survival, but it also gives them a kind of grace, as if color itself were alive and dancing. And in cultures around the world, butterflies carry meaning. In Japan, they are souls in flight. In Mexico, they are the returning dead. In ancient Greece, the word for soul, psyche, was the same as the word for butterfly. Color becomes spirit, wing becomes breath. These are not scientific truths, but human ones. And yet they remind us that color touches not only the eye, but the heart. That when we see a butterfly, we do not simply analyze, we feel. A flicker of awe, a stillness. A kind of remembering. Because somewhere inside us, we understand that color is life made visible. And butterflies, with their fragile, radiant wings, carry that life into the sky. Now let us wander gently toward the closing wings of this story, where colors soften like twilight and meanings begin to settle like dew. The butterfly has flown through forests and fields, through deserts and meadows, bearing messages made of light. But even as it lives in motion, its legacy lingers in stillness, in the hushed beauty of a pinned specimen, in the echo of wings that once shimmered in summer. In museums across the world, drawers hold butterflies from centuries past. Their colors remain, often startlingly vivid. Some blues shine as if they were alive only moments ago. This is because those hues, structural colors, do not fade with time in the way pigments do. They are not stains or oils. They are arrangements of matter, tiny sculptures of air and protein, light traps preserved through care and accident. It is here that the butterfly teaches us a final truth, that the way something is built can preserve beauty longer than the materials it uses. But even color preserved in a case cannot hold the motion of a living wing. For that, we must return to the meadows, to the flutter and flicker of a body too light to follow, too bright to forget. Every butterfly's life is short, a few weeks, sometimes only days. And yet in that time it completes a story that took millions of years to write. From egg to larva to chrysalis to winged flight, it is a song of transformation. And in its colors, we see not just decoration but culmination. Each pattern, each shimmer, each stripe and splash is the final sentence of a poem that began long before we were here to read it. And perhaps this is why we feel a hush when one lands beside us, because we know instinctively that we are witnessing something fragile and precise, that in this moment, light and biology, physics and poetry have all come together in a flicker of motion. A living being wearing color as language, as camouflage, as heat, as magnetism, as music. The journey of a butterfly is not just its flight path. It is a story written in cells and shaped by wind. It is influenced by the plants it feeds on, the air it passes through, the predators it avoids, the mates it courts. Each of these shapes its color. A single butterfly can be brighter or duller depending on how much sunlight touched the leaves it ate as a caterpillar. It is as though the world it moved through left a trace on its wings. And as climate changes, so too do these colors. Some species now emerge earlier or later in the season. Others find themselves flying farther north where new light patterns influence new shades. The color of butterflies becomes a map, a calendar, a mirror. Scientists use this shifting palette to track environmental change, to study migration, to understand ecosystems on the brink. Once again, color becomes more than beauty. It becomes data, a living record. Even the dust left behind when you accidentally touch a butterfly's wing, that fine, powdery residue, is not dust at all. It is thousands of tiny scales, each one crafted like a tile in a mosaic. When these scales fall away, the wing loses its ability to reflect light properly. The color dims. The magic fades. And so we learn quietly how delicate wonder can be, how easily it is disturbed, and how deeply it matters to protect. Butterflies are pollinators, too. As they drift from bloom to bloom, they carry the memory of color between species. Some flowers have evolved to attract specific butterflies, their shapes and hues matched in an ancient partnership. The butterfly sees the flower not as we do, but in ultraviolet echoes and radiant signals. To them, a daisy is not just white and yellow. It is a glowing target, a song in color. And the wings that approach it bring not just pollen, but companionship. A dance of mutual survival, choreographed by time. And so the wings continue to flap, not just in the moment, but in memory, in art and symbol, in scientific discovery and spiritual meaning, in villages where children chase them, in textbooks where students learn their names, in the quiet corners of fields where no one is watching, but the light still falls and the wings still shine. In your mind's eye now, picture a butterfly resting on a rock. The sun is low, the wings open and close like a slow breath. Their color catches the final light of the day. It is not loud, it is not sudden, it is not even trying to be seen. And yet it is radiant. In that moment it holds everything: life and fragility, structure and softness, the invisible mechanics of optics and the emotional pull of a fleeting glance. We are often taught that science is cold, that it seeks to strip away wonder. But this is not true. Science, at its best, deepens wonder. It does not replace poetry, it reveals that poetry lives even in the smallest things. In a butterfly's wing, we find physics that bends light and evolution that shapes function. We find chemistry and color, genetics and geometry. And still, we find ourselves amazed. And maybe that is the final color, the one we cannot name. The one that flickers not on wings but in us. The color of understanding, the shade of awe, the warm hue of connection to something so tiny yet so complete. So as the butterfly lifts into the air once more, its wings brushing the wind with impossible softness, we do not chase it. We simply watch. We remember. We feel the moment settle inside us, a memory of motion and light. And in that memory, the colors do not fade. In the early hush of morning, before the dew has had time to vanish, and while the world still stretches its limbs from sleep, the flowers begin to turn. Slowly, gently, as though remembering something important, they face the sun. It is not a chase, not a race, but a ritual, a quiet alignment between light and life. This dance, called heliotropism, is how certain plants, sunflowers most famously, follow the arc of the sun across the sky. But beneath this turning lies a deeper question. How does a flower remember the sun? Inside the stem, in cells no bigger than dust, live instructions written in the language of molecules. These are not conscious thoughts, but patterns encoded by nature over millions of years. Tiny motors made of proteins push and pull, swelling one side of the stem while relaxing the other. The result is motion. The flower turns, not because it decides to, but because it remembers where warmth lives. And in that motion, in that daily unfolding, the plant greets the light as if it had been waiting for it all night. Light is not just warmth for a plant. It is guidance. It is food. Through photosynthesis, a flower converts sunlight into sugar, storing the sun's memory in every petal and leaf. But the magic runs deeper than food. Light also tells the flower when to bloom, when to sleep, when to grow. It is a clock made not of numbers but of rays. This inner timekeeper, known as the circadian rhythm, is built into the very fabric of life. Like hearts that beat and lungs that breathe, the flower keeps time with the turning of the earth. Now imagine standing in a field at dawn. All around you, wildflowers begin to stir. Some open their petals slowly, others stretch toward the eastern glow. The air is still, and yet you can feel something shifting, a quiet conversation between biology and sky. The flowers are not just responding, they are anticipating. As if, deep within them, there lives a memory of where the sun will be even before it rises. Scientists have discovered that many plants, even in total darkness, still maintain their turning rhythms for a while. It's as if they hold the sun inside them, even in its absence. This kind of memory is not stored in brains or thoughts. It is biochemical, rooted in genes and molecules. In each plant cell, proteins respond to light by changing shape, triggering cascades of signals that ripple through tissues. These proteins, called photoreceptors, are like tiny sun sensors. Some detect red light, others blue. Some are sensitive to the angle of the sun, others to the intensity. They help the plant decide when to flower, how tall to grow, when to release fragrance, and when to begin the gentle turn towards sleep. And it isn't just the big, showy flowers that hold this secret. Even the tiniest buds, the weeds in sidewalk cracks, the mosses clinging to stones, all of them carry this quiet sensitivity. Light shapes their lives. They bend toward it, grow around obstacles for it, time their blooming to match it. This is not intelligence in the way we understand it, but it is awareness, a cellular listening, a kind of presence that responds to the world. In some plants, this relationship with light becomes even more specific. Certain species only bloom after experiencing a particular number of daylight hours, a phenomenon called photoperiodism. This ensures they flower at the right time of year, when pollinators are available or temperatures are safe. They count the hours using proteins that accumulate or degrade in response to night and day. Like a slowly shifting tide, these molecules rise and fall with the rhythm of the earth. And the flower knows without knowing when it is time to open. There are flowers that bloom only at night under the gaze of the moon. The queen of the night cactus, for example, unfurls its enormous blossoms after sunset and wilts before morning. It has learned to love the dark. Moths and nocturnal bees find their way by moonlight, drawn by the scent and the glow of pale petals. These flowers remember the night in the same way others remember the day. Each is tuned to a different rhythm, a different memory of light. Even within a single flower, the memory of the sun shapes color and fragrance. Petals exposed to more sunlight may deepen in hue. Some plants produce scent only in the hours when pollinators are active, releasing it like a message, perfectly timed. These choices are not conscious, but they are precise. The sun leaves fingerprints on every part of the flower in shape, in scent, in softness. Let us drift now underground into the roots. Even here in darkness, the sun's memory lingers. Signals sent from the leaves guide the roots in their growth. Nutrients drawn from the soil are distributed based on where the light falls above. The whole plant is a network, a unity. What the petals feel, the roots respond to. What the stem bends toward, the entire being honors. And when clouds cover the sky, when storms roll through and block the sun's face, the flowers do not panic. They pause, they wait. And when light returns, they turn again as if no time had passed at all. Their patience is a kind of faith not in thought but in pattern, in memory, in the certainty that the light which has always returned will return again. Even after being picked, Even as they fade in a vase, some flowers will still turn their heads slightly toward the window. Something in them still remembers. Something leans gently toward brightness, long after the roots are gone. It is a final gesture, quiet and unassuming but full of meaning, as if the flower, even in its ending, still honors the sun. Let's drift further into this quiet world, where the sun does more than guide, it shapes the entire destiny of a bloom. Just as a compass points north, the internal rhythms of a flower point always toward the light. But there is more than one kind of sunlight, more than one kind of memory. Some plants grow tall, racing upward in shaded forests, stretching for filtered beams that fall like lace across the leaves. Others grow low and wide, soaking in every drop of open sunlight they can find. These growth patterns, these decisions made without thinking, are determined by a process known as photomorphogenesis, where light directs not just when, but how a plant grows. In the earliest moments of a plant's life, even before it sees the sky, it is already listening. A seed buried beneath soil senses the change in light as it cracks open. Even the faintest glimmer of sunlight reaching through the earth can trigger growth. A tiny sprout, pale and coiled, begins to climb, not because it sees, but because it feels. Photoreceptors in its cells detect the direction and quality of light, turning this information into gentle pushes and tugs that shape its journey upward. It is a kind of blind remembering, an instinct so deep, it whispers even in darkness. And as the plant grows, its leaves become instruments of reception. Each leaf is not merely decoration, but a carefully designed surface for absorbing light. The angles, the spacing, even the thinness of the tissue, all are tuned to maximize the capture of photons. In dense forests, leaves may grow broad and flat to catch low light. In deserts, they may be narrow or curled to protect from too much sun. These decisions, silent and slow, are shaped by light's presence or absence. Each plant writes its own sunlit story. The flower, when it blooms, is the final sentence of that story, a punctuation mark written in color and shape. But the bloom itself is also a map of light. Petals often have ultraviolet markings, invisible to human eyes, that act as landing guides for pollinators. These patterns, known as nectar guides, are like arrows painted in light only bees can see. They point toward the sweet reward, the core of the flower. And they are not random. They are written by sunlight, by the genetics of the flower shaped through years of evolution and relationship with its visitors. In alpine regions, where the sun is sharp and the growing season short, flowers bloom in tight synchrony with light. Some even use reflective hairs or cup-shaped petals to direct more sunlight into their centers, small natural lenses, focusing warmth onto their reproductive parts. Others store heat like stones, gathering energy by day and releasing it at night, creating a miniature climate for the insects they depend on. These adaptations are not merely clever, they are poetic. Each is a memory of the sun, shaped into form. The rhythm of blooming is often set by light's length, the photoperiod, and many plants wait for just the right balance of day and night before they flower. This ensures not only survival but harmony. It aligns blooming with the cycles of bees and butterflies, with seasons of rain, with the great migrations of birds that may carry seeds far away. Light is the thread that ties these moments together, and the flower remembers not just the sun, but the world it brings. Even the closing of petals at night, called nyctinasty, is guided by this memory. Some flowers fold themselves shut like dreams returning to sleep, protecting their delicate centers from cold, from dew, from nighttime creatures. Others open only at dusk, their scent stronger in the cooler air, their pale petals glowing in moonlight. These actions are not reflexes. They are rehearsed performances, honed over generations. The flower knows, in its own quiet way, the rhythm of night and day. Let us not forget scent, another invisible memory of the sun. Some flowers release fragrance in the morning when bees are most active. Others wait for the evening, calling to moths and beetles. The timing of scent is not random. It is synchronized with light, with warmth, with wind. Volatile compounds drift through the air like messages, carried by breeze and instinct. Each molecule is a letter, each inhalation a reply. The flower speaks not only with petals, but with invisible poetry, written in sunlight and carried on breath. In the laboratory, scientists have begun to unravel the deeper mechanisms of this sun memory. Genes called clock genes cycle on and off within plant cells, responding to the rise and fall of light. These genes act like gears in a watch, keeping time across the body of the plant. Mutations in these genes can cause plants to bloom at the wrong time, grow too tall, or fail to respond to changes in light. It is a reminder that this memory is not just soft and romantic. It is precise. It is encoded. It is part of the very structure of life. And yet, for all this complexity, the result is something simple: a field of flowers turning toward the sun, a garden that greets the morning, a single daisy leaning on a windowsill. These are not grand gestures, but they are full of grace. They remind us that life does not have to think in order to remember, that the rhythm of light is enough to guide the unfolding of petals. In recent years, researchers have explored how plants might use their memories to adapt to climate change. Some flowers, faced with shorter winters or longer summers, are adjusting their blooming schedules. Others struggle to keep pace. The memory of the sun, once so reliable, now faces uncertainty. But even in this challenge, plants reveal resilience. They adjust ever so slightly. They remember differently. They listen more carefully. And they continue to bloom. Because in the end, light is more than a source of energy. It is a story that the flower tells over and over, in shape, in scent, in timing, in turn. A story passed down not in words but in movement and hue, in the slow spiral of growth, in the gentle twist toward warmth. And when we watch a flower lift its face to the morning sky, we are witnessing not just a reaction but a memory unfolding. A choreography written in the language of sun and silence. And though the flower will never speak, its message is clear. I have known the light. I have waited for it. I remember where it comes from. I bloom because of it. Let us settle now into the final light of this story, the warm, amber glow that comes not from above but from understanding. We have followed the flower from seed to bloom, watched its subtle movements and traced the silent language it speaks with the sun. But now, in this closing stretch, let us reflect on what it means to carry light as memory, and how, through color and movement, the flower whispers secrets to the world. One of the softest, most overlooked wonders in a flower's life is the way it ages, not just in the wilting of petals or the fading of fragrance, but in how the memory of sunlight continues to shape its final days. As the bloom begins to close, signals move quietly through the plant. Hormones shift, sugars redistribute, and even in the act of dying, the flower is guided by what the sun has given. In sunflowers, for example, once pollination occurs, the plant often stops tracking the sun and settles to face east, catching the early morning warmth to attract bees while the day is still new. It is not just efficiency, it is intention born of light. The pigments that color a flower, anthocyanins, carotenoids, chlorophyll, are themselves shaped by exposure to light. They are not permanent. They respond to stress, to weather, to temperature. A flower under intense sunlight may become deeper in hue, its purples more vivid, its reds more brilliant. One in shade may grow softer, paler. These are not flaws but fingerprints. Records of the days past, the clouds drifted through, the warmth held. The colors are the flower's memory, painted in light and worn with grace. And when the flower is gone, when petals have fallen and only seed remains, the memory continues. Seeds carry not only genetic code but traces of the season in which they were formed. The amount of light their parent received, the length of the days, even the direction of the wind, all of these can shape the size, the dormancy, the future blooming pattern of the next generation. The flower does not forget. It passes its knowledge forward. It hands the sun to its children. Across cultures, flowers have long symbolized time, memory, and emotion. In Japanese haiku, a single blossom may speak of entire seasons, of fleeting beauty, of the passage of days. In Indian rituals, marigolds honor the living and the dead, their golden hues recalling the eternal flame. In Victorian England, flowers formed an entire language, floriography, where the choice of bloom carried meaning: hope, sorrow, apology, love. These traditions are not based in science, but they carry truth. Because the flower in every culture reminds us of the sun and of the ways we turn toward it. In the realm of space exploration, even here, flowers reach for light. Scientists aboard the International Space Station have grown zinnias and mustard plants in zero gravity. Deprived of Earth-Sun patterns, these flowers still attempt to orient themselves, responding to artificial lights, curling toward brightness. Even when removed from the soil, from gravity, from wind, the memory persists. The flower does not require the sun's face to remember its warmth. It moves anyway. This resilience is echoed in abandoned places, cities overtaken by vines, cracked sidewalks blooming with dandelions. Where humans have left, light remains. And so, flowers return. Guided only by memory and motion, they take root and bloom. No one teaches them. No one asks them to. They bloom because the sun still touches those empty spaces and the flower still knows how to respond. And now think of a child holding a daisy in their palm, spinning it gently, watching the light fall across the white petals. They may not know the names of the proteins or the processes at play, but they know that the flower is alive, that it moves, that it turns, that it means something. This knowing, quiet and instinctual, mirrors the flower's own memory. It is felt, not spoken, a recognition shared between beings who live under the same sky. So much of our own lives is shaped by light, too. We rise with the morning, we sleep when it fades. Our moods shift with the seasons. Our clocks are set not just by time, but by sun. We are not so different from the flowers we admire. We turn, we open, we rest, we respond. And in that shared rhythm, we find kinship. The next time you see a field in bloom, whether wild or cultivated, whether in spring or in the last light of summer, look closely. Watch how the flowers lean, how they lift, how they drift gently in the breeze. You will see no rush, no struggle, only certainty. They know where the light is, they have always known. And even when night falls, when their petals close and silence returns, the memory does not fade. It waits, it rests, it prepares to turn again. This is the gift of the flower, to teach us how to remember what nourishes us, even in absence, to show us how to move gently with purpose, to bloom not all at once but in rhythm with the world. And when the time comes to let go of petals, of seasons, of warmth, to do so with grace, trusting that light will return. Because the flower remembers, and perhaps in watching it we remember too. Beneath the waves, where sunlight fades into memory and darkness becomes the dominant color, there is a different kind of light. It pulses softly, not from the sky but from life itself. Tiny creatures flicker like stars, and the sea becomes a galaxy turned inward. This is bioluminescence, a glow born not of fire or reflection, but of chemistry and survival. In the deepest layers of the ocean, where no sun ever reaches, light is not something remembered, it is something created. Drift down, past the coral reefs and kelp forests, beyond the last golden shimmer of the sun, and you will find yourself in the twilight zone. Here, between 200 and 1,000 meters below the surface, the light is dim, filtered, and blue. Many of the creatures that live here are transparent, slow-moving, and strange. But among them are those that carry their own light, anglerfish with lanterns dangling from their foreheads, jellyfish that trail shimmering ribbons, plankton that spark when disturbed. In this realm, light becomes a tool, a message, a trap, a disguise. Bioluminescence begins inside cells. It is a chemical reaction involving a molecule called luciferin and an enzyme known as luciferase. When these two meet in the presence of oxygen, they produce light, cold light, without heat, silent and soft. It is not fire. It does not burn, it glows. And each species that glows does so in its own pattern, its own hue, its own rhythm. Some flash in pulses. Others glow steadily. Some respond to movement. Others light up only when touched. It is like a language of glimmers. In the darkest waters, the stakes are high. To be seen is to risk death, but to be invisible is to disappear completely. Light becomes strategy. Some fish use bioluminescence to lure prey, a faint sparkle in the blackness that draws smaller creatures close. Others use it to confuse predators, releasing glowing clouds that swirl like underwater smoke. Still others use it to communicate, sending bursts of light as signals to mates or members of their school. The ocean is full of silent conversations made of photons. And then there are those who use light as camouflage. This may seem strange, but in the twilight depths, the dim sunlight that filters down from above is always blue, always soft. Creatures swimming here risk casting shadows that predators can detect. To hide, some species produce a faint blue glow on their bellies, perfectly matching the light from above. This is called counterillumination, and it renders them nearly invisible from below. It is a kind of invisibility cloak, made not by hiding from light, but by becoming it. Some of the most magical displays of bioluminescence happen not in the depths, but in the shallows, along beaches, in bays, even in footprints left in wet sand. These are caused by tiny organisms called dinoflagellates, a kind of plankton that glows when disturbed. As waves crash or boats pass or swimmers move, they create sparkles in the water like stardust scattered by motion. At night, entire coastlines can glow with a ghostly blue fire, silent and surreal. It is a living light, and it responds to you. This light is more than beauty. For the dinoflagellates, it is defense. When a predator swims too close, the sudden glow may startle it or, more cleverly, attract a larger predator that might chase the first away. It is light used not to escape but to call for help. And in this way, the ocean teaches us again that light is not just energy. It is information. It is decision. It is life's clever answer to darkness. Some organisms, like certain squid, can control their light with astonishing precision. They have organs called photophores, filled with bacteria or chemical chambers that produce light. These photophores can be opened or closed, their brightness adjusted, their direction shifted. In this way, the squid can send messages, blend in, even flicker like Morse code. And still others, like firefly squid, pulse in waves, creating a living constellation in the sea. You might watch a school of them passing like a galaxy, moving slowly through the water. And what of the anglerfish, perhaps the most famous of the deep-sea glowers? Its light dangles from a rod above its head, drawing prey toward the yawning mouth below. But the light is not its own. It is made by bacteria, tiny symbiotic partners that live in the lure and shine for their host. These bacteria live nowhere else. They have adapted perfectly to this shared life. In return for protection and nutrients, they offer light. And in that light, the fish survives. This kind of partnership is not rare. Many glowing creatures do not produce light themselves, but host glowing bacteria. These microscopic organisms have evolved to communicate with one another, syncing their glow using a process called quorum sensing, a chemical method of counting how many others are near. When enough gather, they light up together. It is not a decision, but a consensus, a silent agreement to shine. In coral reefs, some fish use bioluminescence not only for survival but for art. They flash patterns during mating dances. They light up their bodies in rhythmic displays, each pulse timed with intention. In these moments, light becomes poetry, an expression of presence, of longing, of life. And in the blackest depths of all the Hadal Zone, miles below the surface, where pressure is immense and food is scarce, still the glow persists. Tiny amphipods, strange worms, ghostly fish, they shimmer in their own way. No one sees them but themselves. No camera may ever find them, yet they shine. Because even in the deepest dark, life finds a way to remember light. Not the sun's light, but its own. A glow born from within, from the dance of molecules and the will to endure. The ocean does not borrow this light. It creates it. And in doing so, it reminds us that illumination is not always something given. It can also be something made. Let us now float deeper, beyond the places where light is a rare visitor, into the true black of the deep ocean. A darkness so complete it seems to press against your eyes to fill the silence with weight. But here, in the stillness where pressure builds and time slows, light still flickers, not from above but from within. It emerges from gills, from bellies, from threads of skin stretched over fragile bones. It pulses in patterns, glows in rhythm, and fades like breath. This is not just bioluminescence. It is life in the act of remembering light through chemistry, an echo of brightness carried by creatures who have never seen the sun. In these depths, predators and prey have evolved to master this glow. Some fish, like the hatchetfish, possess tubular eyes that rotate within their heads, capturing any trace of sparkle above or around them. Their bodies are lined with photophores that match the faint light from the surface, making them nearly invisible from below. They drift like shadows, camouflaged not by darkness but by imitation of light. It is not simply hiding, it is mimicry in photons. Other species use their light as warning. Some deep-sea jellyfish, when attacked, burst into cascades of blue fire, lighting the surrounding water for long seconds. This display is not a cry of pain but a signal. It might attract a larger predator to chase away the first attacker. The jellyfish, too slow to escape, uses spectacle as defense. In the deep, the glow becomes a shield, not a sword. But there are gentler uses too. Some creatures, like certain comb jellies, do not flash or blink but shimmer continuously. Their cilia, tiny hair-like structures used for movement, scatter ambient light into rainbows. As they drift through the water, they seem to trail auroras behind them, like floating prisms in a liquid sky. These lights are not for hunting or hiding. They are incidental beauty, a side effect of moving through a world built of water and wave. Among the most mysterious glowmakers are the ostracods, tiny seed shrimp that emit bursts of light when disturbed. In some species, males use light pulses to court females. These pulses are not random. They are choreographed, timed, spaced, as precise as any song. A female will respond only to the correct pattern, the proper interval. The ocean here becomes a ballroom, and light becomes the music. Even plankton, the drifting foundation of marine food webs, carry this gift. Some, like Noctiluca scintillans, emit light when stirred. A wave, a swimmer, a hand through the water, all can trigger bursts of blue-green glow. It is a defensive trick, but from the shore it appears as magic. Beaches light up with footfalls. Boats trail halos. The sea writes poetry in every ripple. And in this poetry we see a message, that even the smallest things can light the world. Scientists have long studied bioluminescence, but much remains unknown. Why do so many species glow blue? Why have different organisms evolved the same light-producing systems independently, again and again? In what ways do deep-sea creatures perceive their own glows, and how do they interpret those of others? The questions drift like currents, slow, elusive, wide. And yet the ocean offers answers if we are quiet enough to observe. In laboratories, researchers have harnessed bioluminescent proteins like luciferase and green fluorescent protein, GFP, to light up cells, to track disease, to make invisible processes visible. These proteins, gifts from jellyfish and fireflies and sea pansies, now illuminate our understanding of life. Scientists use them to study cancer, to trace the movement of molecules, to watch neurons fire. The ocean's ancient glow has become a tool for modern insight. And in the realm of storytelling, we carry this light with us. Myths and legends abound of ghost ships glowing on moonless nights, of deep-sea monsters with lantern eyes, of magical bays that respond to song and movement. These stories echo the truth, that light, when born of living things, feels different, more personal, more sacred, because it is not reflected or refracted, it is generated, it is willed into being. This autonomy, this ability to create light in darkness, is a reminder of resilience. These creatures do not depend on the sun, they carry their own sky. In the vast, crushing black they still shine, and that shine is not wasteful, it is measured. Each flash costs energy, each glow is a choice. In a world where food is rare and movement is costly, light is precious. It is never casual. Even mating in the deep sea depends on this glow. Many species live far apart, scattered in the dark. To find one another, they rely on light signals. Male and female anglerfish, for example, must identify each other in the vastness. The male, smaller and often parasitic, uses light to locate a mate, and once found, he fuses to her body, sharing nutrients and genes. Their union is strange, almost mythic, and it begins with a flicker. And now imagine a deep-sea creature, unseen by human eyes for thousands of years, drifting through ancient currents, lighting the water softly as it passes. It does not glow for us. It glows because it must. Because in that cold, pressurized blackness, light is both map and memory. It guides, it reveals, it assures the creature of its own presence, its own shape. It says, I am here. This quiet insistence, this luminous breath, is echoed in our own small ways. We light candles in darkness. We string stars in city streets. We build telescopes to see light that left its source 1 billion years ago. Perhaps we, too, remember the deep ocean's lesson that to make light, even when none is given, is one of life's most wondrous acts. And so we float here among the slow-glowing creatures of the abyss, watching their gentle sparks. They are not loud, they do not rush, but they are relentless. Each one carries its lantern, each one speaks in photons, and through them the deep says, light is not only something to receive, it is something to give. Let us now move gently toward the stillest part of the sea, where the stories grow old and the light becomes memory. Down here, the glow of creatures does not flicker for attention or flare in alarm. It pulses slowly, like a breath held for centuries, like the rhythm of tides beneath time. The bioluminescence that exists in the deepest trenches of the ocean is not dramatic. It is devotional, a quiet ritual of being, light offered into darkness with no promise of witness. In the hadal zones, deeper than 6,000 meters, where trench walls fall steep and the pressure would crush steel, life still glows. Pale amphipods, blind crustaceans, soft-bodied worms all emit brief, soft glimmers. Their bodies are translucent, nearly shapeless, and yet they carry within them the machinery of light. It is not something they do to be seen. It is something they are. Light has become part of their identity. In this crushing black, to glow is to affirm presence, to whisper, I am still here. Even the smallest sparks here carry weight. Energy is precious. Every molecule is measured. A glow must matter. There is no sunlight to waste, no seasons to wait through, no day or night. Only pressure, silence, and gravity. And yet from this place of constraint emerges something beautiful, light not borrowed but born. Some of these organisms glow only when touched, a shimmer of reaction to the world. Others glow in slow waves, their bodies moving with the deep currents. This kind of bioluminescence is not for survival alone. It is a memory of connection. When deep-sea submersibles descend into these zones, their lights often frighten the creatures. But sometimes they are joined by a quiet parade of shimmer. Scientists have described moments where their cameras were surrounded by swirls of glowing jelly, spirals of blinking fish, flashes of light like underwater fireflies. In these encounters, it feels as if the sea responds not as a machine but as a mind. These lights are not just signals, they are greetings. And there are times when even the ocean's surface becomes a mirror to this light. Red tides, glowing waves, marine snow, all tell stories of bioluminescence reaching upward. Some beaches glow as if lit from within, each crest of a wave turning electric blue. In the Maldives, in Puerto Rico, and Japan, travelers walk through surf that lights up with every step. Children laugh, unaware that the tiny organisms glowing at their feet are acting on ancient instincts. In those moments, the barrier between mystery and memory dissolves. The sea becomes a sky turned inside out. For humans, bioluminescence has become more than a marvel. It has become a tool. Scientists use glowing proteins to illuminate what once could not be seen. Neurons firing, tumors growing, proteins folding, all can now be watched in real time, because jellyfish once glowed in cold waters. Light has become a way to ask the body questions, and those questions trace back not to machines, but to drifting organisms in the dark. The journey of this glow from deep trenches to glowing cells in a lab is a thread that ties all life together. From the ocean's floor to the microscope slide, light has carried meaning. And more than meaning, it has carried gentleness. Because the light of bioluminescence is not harsh or hurried. It does not blind or burn. It reveals, slowly, softly, in pulses and whispers. Even in death, some of these deep-sea creatures glow. Their bodies drift upward, still blinking, still shining, as if refusing to fade. It is not dramatic, it is not loud. It is a final offering, a last word in light. And for those who witness it, the scientists, the divers, the dreamers, it becomes a moment of reverence. a reminder that life's glow does not vanish when the body fails. It lingers, floats, becomes part of the sea. And in all of this, from bacteria to squid, from plankton to anglerfish, there is a message that flows like a current through time. That darkness is not emptiness. That light is not limited to the sun. That the will to shine exists even in the most unlikely places. And that glow, faint, fragile, fleeting, can carry more truth than all the noise above. Perhaps that is why we are so drawn to these stories. Because in the quiet gleam of a jellyfish or the soft blink of a deep-sea shrimp, we see something of ourselves, our own longing to be seen, our own urge to glow not for glory but for meaning, our own need to send out some small beacon into the vastness and hope that someone somewhere sees it. And when we close our eyes at night, perhaps it is this memory that lingers, not the thunder of the world but its gentlest sparks, not the sun at its height, but the shimmer of a creature floating through still water, unseen, uncelebrated, and glowing anyway. Because even in silence, even in darkness, there are those who shine. And the ocean, vast and deep and quiet, holds all their lights not as display but as promise. That life, wherever it goes, will carry its own stars. They are everywhere under your feet, on your hands, in the wind, within your breath. Bacteria, too small to see and too numerous to count, form the hidden architecture of life. And yet most of the time they live without color, without form, without any mark of presence beyond the work they do in silence. But there are moments, rare and glimmering, when bacteria reveal something more, a pulse of pigment, a shimmer of blue, a veil of light drawn across the surface of the world. In those moments, it almost feels like they are dreaming. There is a strain of bacteria known as Vibrio fischeri asterisk. It does not glow alone. It needs others, a quorum, a gathering. When enough of them are present, when the colony is large enough, they begin to produce light together. This is quorum sensing, a way for bacteria to measure their population and act only when the time is right. The light they emit is soft and bluish, a quiet gleam in the depths of ocean creatures or in laboratory flasks. But in that blue lies a profound coordination, a collective decision made without words, without minds, but with meaning. These glowing bacteria often live in partnership with animals. In the Hawaiian bobtail squid, Vibrio fischeri colonizes a special light organ beneath the squid's body. There, the bacteria glow just enough to match the moonlight above, canceling out the squid's shadow and making it invisible to predators lurking below. The squid feeds them, nurtures them, and in return they offer camouflage. It is a silent agreement, protection for presence, safety for sanctuary. In the inky black of ocean shallows, their light becomes a shared language between species. And still, this glow is not constant. Each day, the squid flushes out most of the bacteria and regrows the colony overnight. The cycle begins again, bacteria multiplying, sensing each other, reaching critical density, then lighting up once more. It is a rhythm of trust. The squid dreams in darkness, and the bacteria answer with blue. Other bacteria, too, express their presence through color, not through light but pigment. Cyanobacteria asterisk, sometimes called blue-green algae, were among the first organisms to perform photosynthesis. Long before plants appeared, these bacteria were already transforming sunlight into energy, releasing oxygen into an atmosphere that had never known it. It is because of them that we breathe, and it is because of them that the sky turned blue. When cyanobacteria bloom in lakes and ponds, their presence can turn the water emerald or teal, their pigments swirling like watercolor. These blooms, sometimes toxic, are both warning and wonder. The pigments they produce, chlorophyll, phycocyanin, are not just for show. They are molecular tools shaped by sunlight and evolution to capture energy and convert it into life. And in those pigments, we glimpse the ancient memory of Earth's transformation. Even in the coldest regions, in glaciers and polar ice, bacteria bloom with color. In the snowfields of the Arctic and Antarctic, Chlamydomonas nivalis, a type of algae with bacterial relatives, can tint the snow pink or red. This phenomenon is called watermelon snow, and it appears when sunlight warms the upper layers of frozen fields. The color is not a flourish. It protects the cells from ultraviolet radiation, a biological sunscreen made of pigment and perseverance. These microorganisms have never seen a tree, never heard wind through leaves, but they wear color like history. In hot springs, too, color reveals life. At Yellowstone's grand prismatic spring, vivid bands of orange, green, and blue encircle pools of boiling water. These colors are created by thermophilic bacteria, heat-loving microbes that live in gradients of temperature and chemistry. Each band, each hue, represents a different microbial community. Each tuned to a specific level of heat or pH, their pigments help absorb light or protect against it. And from a distance, the spring looks like an eye, the Earth's own vision, fringed with color and filled with depth. Bacteria do not see color the way we do, but they respond to it. They grow toward light or away from it. They adjust their metabolism in response to different wavelengths. Some produce pigments to harvest light, others to hide from it. To us, it may appear as if they are simply reacting. But beneath those reactions lies a kind of knowing, a cellular wisdom honed over billions of years. They are not thinking, but they are remembering the sun, remembering the dark, remembering how to turn molecules into light. And sometimes they glow where we do not expect them, deep in caves, in biofilms clinging to wet rock, on ship hulls in warm seawater, in our own bodies in the gentle phosphorescence of gut flora reacting to stress. It is not common, it is not obvious, but when the conditions are right, when the quorum is reached or the chemical balance tips, the bacteria reveal their hidden script, lines of blue ink scrawled across the silence. In ancient times, some cultures believed that glowing water was a sign of spirits or magic. They did not know about luciferin or quorum sensing or bacterial colonies, but they felt the same wonder we do now, the awe of seeing something small produce something so bright. And in that awe lives a truth that science continues to confirm, that life at every scale seeks to express itself, sometimes in sound, sometimes in scent, and sometimes in color. So when we say that bacteria dream in blue, we are not speaking of fantasy. We are speaking of potential, of the moments when something invisible becomes visible, when stillness becomes shimmer, when the smallest forms of life leave traces of light, not just in water, but in the atmosphere, in evolution, in us. For we too are shaped by these ancient beings. Our mitochondria, the powerhouses of our cells, are believed to be descendants of ancient bacteria. The energy we use to move, to think, to feel, it flows from microbial origins. And perhaps that is why the glow of bacteria touches something inside us, because on some deep, molecular level we remember. Let us drift further now, into the invisible world where color is not decoration, but function, a living tool forged by ancient time. In the realm of bacteria, color is never idle. It absorbs, reflects, warns, protects. It speaks a language too small for us to hear, and yet it paints the edges of lakes, the bloom of algae, the shimmer in seawater. Even without eyes or voice, bacteria express their place in the world through hues that change with light and temperature, stress and survival. And if you look closely, not with your eyes, but with your understanding, you'll see that color is one of the oldest conversations on Earth. Some bacteria turn yellow under stress, producing carotenoids, the same pigments that make carrots orange or autumn leaves golden. These molecules do more than color the cells. They act as shields, soaking up harmful light and protecting delicate machinery inside. In salty lakes, halobacteria flush crimson or deep pink, their pigment bacteriorhodopsin capturing sunlight like a mirror in the dust. It doesn't make them hot. It doesn't make them glow. It powers them. Converts light to energy in a way different from plants, but no less elegant. They become small, salt-loving suns. Other bacteria change their color with age, with hunger, with pressure. In cultures grown in petri dishes, scientists often observe colonies darken at the edges or brighten at the center, forming rings like the ripples of dropped stones. These patterns, though tiny, record movement and change, how far nutrients reached, how fast the bacteria spread, how the conditions bent their behavior. In a way, each colony becomes a memory, a stained glass window of its own journey, told in yellows, reds, blues, and greens. One of the most astonishing bacterial colors emerges in the presence of metal. Certain species can interact with iron, copper, or manganese, producing color as a byproduct. In acid mine drainage streams, for example, Leptospirillum and Acidithiobacillus thrive in toxic, iron-rich water, turning it brilliant shades of orange and red. These are places humans cannot live, yet bacteria not only survive, they decorate. The water glows with rust and blood and light, not from pollution alone, but from life finding rhythm in decay. These bacteria write beauty where others see ruin. In the human body, too, color sometimes arises from bacterial work. The tongue's surface, the lining of the gut, the folds of skin, all can shift tone based on microbial life. When something changes, when the balance is lost, a film might appear pale, yellow, green, or blue. These are signs, subtle markers of an invisible shift beneath the surface. Doctors read them like maps. And though we cannot always see the bacteria, we can see what they leave behind. And when light touches bacteria, responses unfold almost instantly. Some retreat, moving away from brightness in a behavior called negative phototaxis. Others are drawn to it, positive phototaxis, chasing light to power photosynthesis or warmth. Though they have no eyes, they sense the direction of light through proteins sensitive to photons. These proteins bend and flex, triggering cascades of chemical messages that guide the bacteria like a compass. It is motion born from awareness, even without thought. In communities, bacteria build together. They form biofilms, slimy, layered structures that stick to surfaces and protect the colony. Biofilms may seem dull from afar, but under a microscope, they bloom with detail and tone. Some shimmer with green due to chlorophyll, others with purple from bacteria chlorophyll. The colors shift as oxygen flows or pH changes, forming gradients that tell silent stories. In dental plaque, in stream rocks, in coral reefs, the colors of biofilms map bacterial neighborhoods with astonishing precision. One bacterial species, Xanthanobacterium lividum, produces a stunning violet pigment called violacine. This pigment doesn't just beautify, it defends. Violacine has antimicrobial properties, helping the bacteria compete against rivals. On a petri dish, it blooms like spilled ink, purple and proud, telling the world, I am here, I am strong, I survive. In frogs, this bacterium lives on the skin, possibly helping protect them from deadly fungi. Again, color becomes alliance, a bond of biology and chemistry whispered through molecules. Sometimes bacteria glow only under ultraviolet light. These invisible pigments, when exposed to the right wavelength, emit fluorescence, a radiant reveal of what was always there, just hidden. Scientists use this trick to trace the presence of bacteria in water, on surfaces, in food. A dark lab lights up with glowing streaks and colonies, revealing life in places we thought were empty. The bacteria did not change. Only the way we saw them did. And so, bacteria teach us not only how to color, but how to hide and how to be seen. They teach us how to use light as signal and shelter, how to store it, reflect it, bend it. They teach us that color is not mere appearance but function, a survival tool honed over billions of years. Even more fascinating, some bacteria change the color of the world around them. Soil bacteria can oxidize minerals, turning pale rocks bright orange or black. In caves, certain microbes help form speleothems, mineral deposits like stalactites, their slow drip of pigment-laced water creating stripes and stains that trace centuries of chemical art. These are microbial murals, etched in stone. And when we look at ancient Earth, long before animals walked or forests grew, we find evidence of bacteria in the colors of fossilized mats. Stromatolites, layered rock structures built by ancient microbial colonies, contain banded hues red, gray, green, tan, painted by long-dead cells that shaped oceans and seas. Their colors outlived their bodies. Their pigments became pages in the stone record. And we read those pages now, seeing not just rock, but history painted by the smallest hands. To dream in blue for bacteria is not a metaphor. It is a fact, a calling, a language. And when we look closely with reverence and time, we understand they do not dream as we do. They do not close eyes or imagine. But their pigments, their lights, their shifts and swirls all point to memory. All speak of past and presence. All whisper that even in the smallest lives there is a record of experience stored in color. Let us now drift towards stillness, where understanding settles like sediment in calm water. The story of bacteria and their colors does not end in laboratories or luminous seas. It stretches further, into the quiet realization that these smallest of beings have long been shaping the planet's palette, brushing their pigments across the canvas of Earth, sometimes in ways we only recognize centuries later. To witness their glow is to glimpse an ancient truth, that color is not only expression, but inheritance. That the blue a bacterium dreams is the same blue carried by skis, by oceans, by veins beneath skin. In some moments, color becomes a kind of signature. Scientists use bacterial pigments as biomarkers, clues to identify microbial presence in distant environments. In oil-contaminated soil, certain purple or green bacteria flourish, signaling both damage and adaptation. In thermal springs, the layers of pigment map temperature, like a living thermometer written in pink and orange and gold. Even in space exploration, we look for pigment traces, molecular hints that life once breathed or bloomed on Mars or Europa. The colors of bacteria have become our guides, our interpreters of unseen life. In agriculture, bacterial color holds promise and warning. Some soil bacteria produce pink or red pigments when fixing nitrogen, a sign of health, of a symbiotic relationship with roots. Others shift hue in response to toxins, alerting farmers to danger before crops suffer. This chromatic feedback is not artificial. It is biological intuition. The bacteria sense and respond, and their colors become silent advisors in the rhythms of growth. And in art, too, bacterial color finds a place. Some artists now cultivate living pigments, painting with bacterial colonies that change and spread over time. The artwork breathes, evolves, fades. It is alive. And while the results may seem ephemeral, they echo something timeless, that beauty can come from biology, that even microbes, so often feared or ignored, can become creators. Their movement, their metabolism, their hidden luminescence, all conspire to form something elegant. Even our ancestors knew the power of microbial color, though they could not name its source. Ancient dyeing techniques often relied on fermented materials, indigo extracted from leaves with bacterial help, or Tyrian purple produced from marine mollusks whose bacteria help stabilize the hue. The richness of these colors, their permanence and depth, depended on unseen partnerships. The fabric became a record of life processes, worn on the body, woven into identity. In medicine, bacterial pigments hint at cures and complications alike. Certain strains of Pseudomonas produce a bright blue-green pigment called piocyanin, which can indicate infection. Its color is more than cosmetic. It reflects oxidative stress and cellular warfare. Yet other pigments, like protogiasin from Serratia marcescens, once seen as curiosities, are now studied for anti-cancer properties. The color becomes more than symptom. It becomes possibility. A bridge between disease and healing, written in crimson threads. And what of the future? Researchers are exploring how bacterial pigments might replace synthetic dyes, creating fabrics that shift color with sunlight, paints that self-repair, solar panels that mimic microbial photosynthesis. In these visions, we do not extract color from Earth. We grow it. We partner with the ancient instead of overpowering it. The bacteria become collaborators, co-authors of a sustainable world. But beyond function, beyond industry and science, bacterial color carries meaning, a quiet message about how life evolves, adapts, expresses. The glow of a biofilm on a cave wall, the blush of algae in Antarctic snow, the flicker of light beneath a squid at night, each is a gesture. A soft wave from organisms that have no face, no hand, no voice, and yet still communicate. And perhaps that is what moves us most. That from something as small as a single cell, without eyes or thought, emerges not only survival but beauty. That light can form where no sun shines. That pigment can bloom where no garden grows. That even the creatures who predate animals, who shaped the air and water before we walked, continue to mark the world in gentle hues. When you see a pool stained green, a sea that glows, a flask that blushes violet, remember this: you are seeing history. You are watching evolution whisper. You are witnessing a language older than words, spoken in the softest colors. And though you may never meet a bacterium face to face, it has already touched your breath, your skin, your blood, your roots. It lives in you and you in it. So the next time you stand at the edge of a glowing tide or peer into a microscope at a shimmering colony, pause. Watch. Feel the presence of something ancient and quiet. Let the color speak. It says, "We were here before the light, and when the stars fade, we will still shine." Because to be alive is to respond, to adapt, to endure, to express. And in the world of bacteria, this expression becomes color, not flamboyant but persistent, not loud but lasting. It is the blue of breath held deep, the green of time unmeasured, the gold of warmth remembered in a place without sun. When bacteria dream, they do not dream in silence. They dream in color. In the hush of a quiet forest, where the wind drifts slowly through tall branches and the light filters down in golden shards, there is a secret tucked into every leaf. At first glance, it's green, just green. But look more closely, not just with your eyes, but with patience and stillness, and the truth begins to unfold. That green is not a single note, but a song of many colors, layered and shifting, changing with time and season. Hidden beneath the surface of each leaf is a spectrum, a rainbow held in waiting, and the story it tells is one of light, time, and quiet transformation. Leaves, those delicate solar panels of life, owe their color first to chlorophyll, the pigment that drinks sunlight and turns it into food. Chlorophyll is what makes the leaf green, what lets it catch the energy of the sun and stitch it into sugar, into growth. But chlorophyll is also a mask. It is so dominant that it hides what lies beneath: the reds, the oranges, the golds. And yet they are there, waiting. Every leaf carries more than one hue. The rainbow is always present, even when it is hidden. As the seasons shift and the days grow shorter, the tree begins to remember a different rhythm. It prepares for rest, for stillness. Chlorophyll, once abundant, begins to break down. It fades gently, not in sadness but in purpose. And as it does, the other pigments are revealed: carotenoids that glow orange and yellow, anthocyanins that flush red and purple. These pigments were there all along, quiet companions to chlorophyll, waiting their turn to speak. And when they do, the forest becomes a painter's dream, hillsides blazing with fire and light. But these colors are not just decoration. They are messages, signals, tools. Carotenoids protect the leaf from sun damage, soaking up extra light and dispersing it safely. Anthocyanins may shield the leaf from cold or help it manage nutrients in its final days. They can even deter insects, their deep reds suggesting poison. So while we marvel at the color, the tree is speaking to itself, managing its chemistry, its defenses, its memories, all through the gentle language of pigment. Each species has its own palette. Aspen trees flare gold, maples burn crimson, oaks turn copper and russet. The timing of their changes is a kind of choreography tied to temperature, day length, soil moisture, and genetics. No two autumns are the same, and no two trees change in exactly the same way. A single branch may hold every stage of transition, from lush green to lemon yellow to deep burgundy, all within a few outstretched fingers. This mosaic is not chaos. It is precision written in color. But not all rainbows wait for autumn. Some leaves reveal their spectrum in other ways. Look at the surface of a leaf in the morning dew, and you might see iridescence, a shimmer like oil on water, a surface that shifts color with angle. This is not pigment but structure. Microscopic layers in the leaf's surface reflect light in complex ways, bending it, splitting it, sending it back in unexpected hues. In some tropical plants, this structural coloration is vivid, casting blues and purples across the forest floor. It is nature playing with physics, crafting beauty not from dye, but from form. Even in young leaves, before chlorophyll takes full control, other colors have their moment. The tender shoots of many plants emerge in shades of red or bronze, flush with anthocyanins that help protect them from harsh light. These first colors are like training wheels, easing the plant into the brightness of the world. As the leaf matures, chlorophyll rises, takes charge, and those early hues fade, but their role has already been played. And there are moments, rare but real, when stress brings out color unexpectedly. Drought, disease, poor soil, these challenges can change the leaf's chemistry, shifting its hues early or unevenly. A stressed tree may show its rainbow before others, not out of celebration but out of need. In these cases, color becomes a whisper of trouble, a gentle call for attention. And if we listen, we learn. In winter, most leaves fall, their pigment spent, their work complete. But some evergreen trees hold their needles year-round. These leaves stay green even in the cold, their chlorophyll lingering through frost and snow. Yet even they are not immune to change. In extreme cold, evergreens can produce anthocyanins too, their needles taking on a slight purplish hue, a quiet blush in a season of silver. Even here, the rainbow breathes beneath the surface. And in the lab, scientists are learning to read these colors more precisely. Using spectroscopy and imaging, they can measure the pigment composition of a leaf without touching it. Satellites track the colors of forests from space, mapping not just beauty but health, photosynthesis, carbon exchange. The hidden rainbow has become data, a story told not only to the eye but to the instrument, to the model, to the understanding mind. Yet even with all this science, the magic remains. To walk through a forest in fall is to feel time painted in real strokes. The light changes, the air shifts, and the leaves release their secrets one by one. They do not rush. They do not apologize. They turn gold and red and orange and then quietly let go. And so, when you hold a leaf freshly fallen, still warm from the sun, know that you are holding more than a scrap of plant. You are holding a spectrum, a record, a message from chloroplasts and sunbeams, from soil and weather, from the tree's own quiet memory of light. The green you first saw was only the beginning. The rest was always there, waiting patiently, tucked into layers, curled into cells, folded into form. And now, released, it glows for you, the hidden rainbow and the leaf's final sigh. Let us walk deeper now into the heart of the leaf, past the shimmer of autumn and the shine of summer, into the quiet machinery where color is created and transformed. For what we see on the surface is only a reflection of something deeper, something quiet and small, unfolding in the chloroplasts, the tiny green engines inside plant cells where light becomes life. These structures are ancient, descendants of free-living bacteria swallowed by early plants. And inside them, the story of color unfolds every day, wordlessly, in silence and sunlight. Chloroplasts are filled with chlorophyll, the molecule that absorbs sunlight most efficiently. But chlorophyll does not drink every color of light. It captures red and blue, leaving green behind to be reflected. That green is not the leaf's color. It is the color of light rejected, bounced back, unneeded. And so, the green we see is not a statement of identity, but a consequence of utility. The leaf takes what it needs and gives us what is left. The green is a gift, a leftover light turned visible. But other pigments work alongside chlorophyll, each playing a role in the leaf's quiet symphony. Carotenoids, for example, are responsible for yellows and oranges. They are always present, hiding beneath chlorophyll, assisting in photosynthesis, protecting the leaf from damage when light becomes too intense. Anthocyanins, on the other hand, are more mysterious. They are not always present. They are made in response to need, to cold, to stress, to change. These pigments paint leaves red, purple, and sometimes even blue. But their role goes beyond color. They may shield fragile tissues, scavenge harmful molecules, deter herbivores, or attract pollinators and seed dispersers when fruits begin to form. In the leaf's deepest structures, these pigments whisper to the world in hues we can only begin to understand. Even within a single tree, color varies. The same species on one side of a mountain may flush earlier than those on the other. A branch shaded from light may stay green longer while its sunlit neighbor blazes into scarlet. Each leaf is a diary of its own small corner of the world, how much sun it caught, how cold the nights became, how dry the soil felt. It records these details not in ink but in tone. Its reds and golds are not decorative. They are declarations, messages. And if we listen closely, we begin to read them. The change in color is not a sudden gesture. It is a slow forgetting of green. As days shorten, a tree senses the fading light. It prepares for rest, beginning the complex process of senescence, the organized retreat from activity. The leaf, once busy with photosynthesis, begins to seal itself off from the tree, forming a corky layer at its base. Nutrients are withdrawn. Chlorophyll begins to break down, and as it fades, the colors that waited beneath rise to the surface. It is not decay. It is completion. The leaf is not dying, it is finishing its work. In this moment of change, anthocyanins surge. Their production increases as chlorophyll fades. Their red tones intensify. Some scientists believe this serves to protect the leaf in its final days, shielding it from sun damage while nutrients are reclaimed. Others propose a different theory, that the red color deters insects from laying eggs on the leaf, signaling unpalatability or toxicity. Still others suggest the color may simply be a byproduct of metabolic change, without function but full of beauty. Whatever the reason, the red appears, suddenly and vividly, like a flame in a forest. And beyond red, beyond orange, there is blue rare in leaves, but not impossible. Some tropical plants develop blue-toned foliage through a combination of pigment and structure. Their leaves shimmer with an iridescent quality, reflecting more green and blue light than usual. This might serve to confuse predators, to reduce sun exposure, or to attract attention. Blue leaves are not common, but where they exist, they become symbols of mystery, as though the plant is wearing a sky-colored mask, remembering something far above its forest floor. Even the way a leaf falls is shaped by its colors. Drier leaves may curl at the edges, their golds crinkling like paper. Wetter ones may sink gently to the ground, their reds pooling like spilled wine. And once on the forest floor, these leaves decompose slowly, richly, returning their pigments and minerals to the soil. Fungi and bacteria break down their structures, releasing carbon, nitrogen, and color back into the cycle of life. The rainbow does not end in death. It continues, absorbed into roots, drawn upward again in spring as buds unfurl, and the story repeats. And in the world beyond forests, humans have long looked to leaves for color. Ancient dyes were made from fall leaves, their pigments steeped and strained. Artists crushed dried foliage to make earthy tones for canvas. Herbalists used leaf colors as indicators of potency and age. Even now, scientists study anthocyanins and carotenoids for their antioxidant properties, exploring how the same molecules that protect a leaf might also protect a cell. We are drawn to these colors not just because they are beautiful but because they are honest. A leaf cannot lie about its condition. Its hue reflects its health, its place in time, its response to the world around it. In a single glance, we are offered a glimpse into a season, a memory, a process too complex to see, but too elegant to ignore. So as you walk beneath a tree, look up. Let the light filter through the canopy. Watch the colors shift, green near the trunk, gold at the tips, red dancing at the edges. Let yourself imagine the pigments moving, the chlorophyll fatting, the sugars flowing back into the branches. Let yourself hear the quiet voice of the leaf, telling you the story of light and life. And when a leaf drifts past you, carried by wind or time, catch it, hold it, trace its veins with your fingers. Know that you are holding a record of the sky, that in your hand is sunlight, transformed and stored and finally released, not as heat or sound, but as color. The hidden rainbow was always there. You only had to wait long enough to see it unfold. Let us linger now in the soft silence of falling leaves, where the last of the season's colors breathe their final messages into the air. This is the part of the story that slows down, that leans inward, where transformation is no longer about growth or energy, but about memory and release. The rainbow in the leaf does not vanish. It settles. It diffuses into the earth, into our gaze, into the parts of us that recognize beauty without explanation. And it leaves behind not just color, but understanding that even endings can be radiant. In some forests, the change is so gradual that you might miss it. A yellowing here, a softening there. One day the green seems a little lighter, the edges a little warmer. Then suddenly the forest becomes a sea of fire, not in heat, but in hue. The canopy glows from within. Paths are carpeted in gold and rust and wine, and everywhere there is a quiet awe as though even the trees are holding their breath. But this display is not just for us. The trees are preparing for winter. By withdrawing chlorophyll, they conserve energy. By shedding leaves, they prevent snow from weighing down their branches. In this letting go, the tree protects itself. And yet in the act of release, it creates something breathtaking. The colors we see are not excess. They are the echoes of light that once fed the tree, now released like breath. The rainbow is not a flourish. It is a farewell. Some leaves hold their colors longer than others. Some fall while still green, never showing their hidden hues. Others remain on the branch long into winter, curled and brown, whispering of seasons past. There is no single script. No leaf follows the same pattern twice. The pigments do not just tell the story of photosynthesis, but of place, the slope of a hill, the shelter of a grove, the heat of a city. Color becomes cartography, a map of microclimates drawn in changing shades. And when these leaves fall, they become part of a different cycle, the slow alchemy of decay. Fungi arrive first, reading the pigments like invitations. Then come the insects, the bacteria, the earthworms. They break the leaf down, layer by layer, until what remains is not green or red or gold, but nourishment. The minerals that once traveled through veins now soak into the soil. The pigments fade, not into silence, but into sustenance. Even in disassembly, the leaf continues to give. In some ecosystems, the fallen leaves are the forest's heartbeat. They insulate the soil, protect the roots, retain moisture, and feed the next generation. Their color, once visible above, now becomes chemistry below. The hues that once fluttered in sunlight are now tucked into humus and root hairs, preparing for spring. The rainbow becomes memory, and memory becomes growth. And humans, too, are part of this rhythm. We gather leaves, press them into books, rake them into piles, scatter them in gardens. We study their pigments, replicate their colors in fabric and paint, capture them in poems and photographs. We hold them between our fingers and feel time. We know instinctively that this is not just beauty, it is transition. The colors of autumn do not shout. They murmur. They remind. In mythology and art, leaves have long carried meaning. In ancient Greek stories, golden leaves were symbols of favor from the gods. In Chinese poetry, falling leaves represent homesickness and the passage of years. In Celtic lore, the turning of the leaf marked the threshold between worlds, the living and the spirit, the known and the unknown. Color was not just pigment but presence, a language of the in-between. Even today, our expressions remember this. We speak of turning over a new leaf, not just to mean change, but renewal, as if every fresh start is a page from a tree, a chlorophyll story waiting to be written. And when we see trees turning in autumn, something stirs inside us, a recognition that we too change, that we too carry layers of light and shadow, that our endings too might hold unexpected beauty. In the laboratory, scientists continue to uncover the secrets of leaf pigments, how they interact with light, how they signal to animals, how they protect the cells that carry them. And still, despite all we know, there is mystery. Why do some trees flare red while others fade gold? Why do colors linger longer in some years than others? The answers shift with climate, with rainfall, with wind. The science is precise, but the outcome is personal. Each autumn is a conversation between the tree and the year. And so the leaves fall, quietly, continually, until the trees are bare. And beneath those bare branches, the memory of the rainbow still lingers, in the soil, in the air, in the light that filters through skeletal twigs. The colors have not gone, they have only changed form. Next spring, the buds will open again. Young leaves will stretch in pale green. Chlorophyll will return. Photosynthesis will resume. And hidden within those new leaves, once again, will be the same quiet chorus of pigments waiting patiently, tucked beneath the surface, ready to return when the time is right. The rainbow never truly ends. It rests. It transforms. It becomes part of a larger cycle of light and life, of remembering and returning. And the leaves in their turning remind us of that rhythm, that even in letting go there can be radiance, that even in silence color speaks. So the next time a leaf drifts past your shoulder, do not brush it away. Catch it. Look closely. Let its color wash over your vision. Know that it is not merely a sign of autumn, but a letter from the sun, passed through the hands of the tree, folded by time, sealed with a pigment, and now held by you. It says, "The light that nourished me lives on in you." From the moment we open our eyes, the world pours into us in color, the blue of the sky, the green of leaves, the gold that spills through windows in the late afternoon. And yet, what we see is not simply what is there. It is a translation, a dream, a collaboration between light, biology, and perception. Behind every color is a story, and at the heart of that story is the eye, a soft globe of tissue and nerves, shaped by evolution to interpret waves of light and turn them into meaning. Eyes do not simply see color, they create it. To understand this is to understand that color itself does not exist as a property of objects. There is no blue in the sky, no green in the leaf. There are only wavelengths of light, electromagnetic energy moving through space, invisible unless caught. The eye catches this energy. Its cells, called photoreceptors, absorb specific ranges of wavelengths, and the brain assigns them names: red, green, blue, violet. The world becomes a painting only when we look at it. Within the human retina, two types of photoreceptor cells reside: rods and cones. Rods allow us to see in low light, in shades of gray, in moonlit stillness. They are sensitive, silent workers, numbering in the hundreds of millions, helping us navigate shadows. Cones are fewer but more colorful. They come in three varieties: sensitive to short blue, medium green, and long red wavelengths. These three types are all we need to build every hue we know. Mix their signals in different amounts, and suddenly we perceive pink sunsets, turquoise seas, amber candlelight. But our eyes are only one version of seeing. In the animal world, color vision blooms in countless shapes. Bees see ultraviolet patterns in flowers that guide them to nectar. Snakes detect infrared heat with pits that function like shadowed eyes. Birds possess four or more types of cones, granting them access to colors we cannot imagine, colors with no human name. The mantis shrimp, perhaps the most astonishing of all, has up to 16 types of photoreceptors. It can perceive polarized light, ultraviolet, and spectral combinations that are utterly alien to us. To the shrimp, the ocean floor is likely not blue or green, but alive with shifting, layered rainbows. Our perception is bounded by biology. What we call visible light is only a sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum. Just beyond red lies infrared. Just beyond violet, ultraviolet. We cannot see them, but we feel their presence in warmth, in sunburn, in the way a flower glows differently beneath special lenses. Some creatures live in those unseen bands. We live in ours. Each eye a window, each species a unique gallery. But sight is not simply reception. It is also attention. The eye does not merely take in information, it selects, it focuses. It moves in saccades, quick jumps between points of interest, filling in gaps, smoothing edges, interpreting shadows. Much of what we see is made up, guessed by the brain based on past experience. Optical illusions reveal the edges of this truth, that our vision is less a camera and more a story told in real time, shaped by expectation. Even the moonlight, gentle and silver, is not truly silver. It is sunlight reflected, filtered through atmosphere, reaching our eyes with less intensity. The reason it seems colorless is because in dim light our rods take over and cones fall silent. We see in grayscale, in whispers of form. But if you were to look at the moon with a long exposure camera, you would see faint colors, browns and blues and subtle red tones. The colors were always there. Our eyes simply shifted into quiet mode. As we grow older, even the lenses in our eyes begin to yellow slightly, subtly filtering our vision. The world we see in youth is not quite the same as what we see in age. A child might see purer blues. An elder might find the reds more resonant. These changes are not flaws. They are the shifting filters of time, reminding us that vision is not fixed. It flows. It evolves. And yet, in all its variation, sight remains one of the most emotional senses. A single glimpse of color can trigger memory. The soft green of a childhood bedroom, the red of a lost sweater, the deep indigo of the sky just before sleep. These moments are not just about what was seen, but what was felt. Color does not live only in the eye. It lives in the heart, in the part of us that remembers. The language of color is embedded in our speech. We speak of feeling blue, of seeing red, of being green with envy or yellow with fear. We use colors to describe moods, ideas, even sound, as in synesthesia, where some people literally see color in music, taste color in words. Their brains blend senses, turning experience into a woven tapestry. These are not hallucinations. They are heightened perception, reminders that reality is more flexible than we believe. Even dreams have color, though not always consistently. Some people dream in full, vivid palettes. Others drift through monochrome scenes. And still, when we wake, we say the sky was blue, the tree was gold, the room was white. We give color to memory even when it may not have been there. The mind craves hue, adorns stories with tone, dresses moments in pigment. When light passes through a prism, it splits into a spectrum. This is not magic but structure, each wavelength bent slightly differently. Our eyes act as living prisms, too, catching the blend of light and sorting it into meaning. And even when we cannot see the rainbow directly, we sense its parts. We know that white is not the absence of color, but the presence of all of them at once, perfectly balanced. So what does it mean to have eyes made of moonlight and color? It means to live on the edge of seeing, to move between light and dark, between knowing and wonder. It means to understand that every moment of vision is a miracle of biology and physics, a quiet conversation between photons and cells. And it means that, perhaps more than any other sense, sight reminds us that the world we experience is not the world as it is, but the world as it arrives through us. Let us drift deeper now into the soft architecture of the eye, where every curve and chamber holds a conversation between light and life. The eye is not a single thing, but a system, a collaboration of lens and fluid, retina and nerve. It begins at the cornea, the clear window through which light first enters, bending slightly as it passes into the aqueous humor, a liquid that nourishes and cushions. From there it meets the lens, flexible, shape-shifting, adjusting with muscle to focus near or far. The light then slips into the vitreous body, a clear gel that fills the globe of the eye and finally strikes the retina, a tissue thinner than a leaf, more sensitive than any screen. And on that thin canvas lies the fovea, a tiny dip in the retina packed densely with cone cells. This is where we see most clearly, most colorfully. When you focus your gaze on a flower, a face, a star, it is your fovea doing the fine work. The rest of your vision is fuzzier, softer, filled in by memory and guesswork. We see with the center and we interpret with the edges. Color is born in the cones. Each cone cell contains photopigments, molecules that absorb light and respond to certain wavelengths. Short cones for blues, medium for greens, long for reds. But these are not rigid boundaries. There is overlap. And it is the blend of signals, the ratios, the differences between them that create the spectrum we perceive. A single color, like magenta, doesn't exist in the spectrum at all. It's a construct of the brain, a mixture of red and blue, a gap bridged by invention. In this way, color is not just biology, it is imagination. Color vision varies widely between people. Some have more cones than others. Some see a richer palette while others are colorblind, missing one type of cone or having it tuned differently. Red-green colorblindness, the most common type, does not mean seeing in black and white, but rather experiencing a world where certain hues blend together, where contrast replaces distinction. These alternate visions are not deficiencies. They are different lenses, reminders that the world looks different to every eye. In certain rare cases, individuals may possess four types of cones, a condition known as tetrachromacy. Mostly found in women, tetrachromats may perceive tens of millions more colors than the average person. A sunset for them might not just be orange and pink, but layered with subtleties of gold and plum and copper no one else can see. The world becomes more nuanced, more granular, painted in finer brushstrokes. And yet, they may never know they see differently unless asked. We assume others see as we do, but in truth, every eye writes its own story. Beyond biology, culture influences color too. Some languages have more words for color, some divide the spectrum differently. In Russian, light blue and dark blue are considered distinct, like red and pink in English. In some indigenous Amazonian languages, there may be fewer words for color but more precision in describing texture, sheen, or movement. Color is not just seen, it is named, and in naming it becomes more vivid. And the symbolism of color shifts across societies. White may mean purity in one culture, mourning in another. Red may speak of danger, of passion, of celebration. Blue may mean calm or sadness or protection. These associations are shaped by environment, tradition, language, and ritual. We do not merely see color, we inherit it. We are taught what it means. And sometimes we feel it before we understand it. Animals carry their own color codes. The bright hues of a poison dart frog say, "Do not touch." The shifting shimmer of a cuttlefish confuses predators. The iridescent wings of a butterfly flash and vanish, dazzling and deceiving. Some creatures change color to match their mood or environment, like chameleons or squid, their skin acting like a screen, adjusting pigment with cells called chromatophores. These cells contain sacs of color that expand or contract to reflect different wavelengths. With each breath or heartbeat, the animal becomes a living painting. And there are creatures that live in darkness, whose eyes have become vestigial, or who navigate through touch and vibration. Yet even these beings, at some point in their lineage, carried eyes that saw light. Evolution writes and rewrites the rules, but the memory of light lingers. The genes for vision often remain, tucked deep in DNA, dormant but present, a record of once having looked upon the sun. The eye is not only for light. It is shaped by darkness too. In the human retina, rods outnumber cones by a wide margin, over 100 million rods compared to about 6 million cones. Rods do not detect color, but they are far more sensitive to light. They allow us to see in moonlight, to sense movement at the edges of vision, to walk safely through shadow. They teach us to respect the in-between, to find beauty not only in clarity, but in silhouette. And when light disappears entirely, the eye adapts. After about 20 minutes in darkness, our sensitivity increases dramatically. The world reappears in grayscale, gently lit by starlight or memory. This process, called dark adaptation, is a biological embrace of subtlety. It is not about what is visible, but what is possible. In this state, we do not see less, we see differently. Even the tears that protect our eyes carry clarity. They keep the surface smooth, refract light evenly, and carry away dust. When we cry, the world blurs not just with water but with feeling. And in that blur, color softens, edges melt. The eye, which brings so much information, now reveals something else, that to see clearly is not always to understand. Sometimes it is in the soft focus, the distortion, the glow around lights that we feel most deeply. There is poetry in the structure of the eye, in its curved cornea and round lens, in its inverted image and upright perception. In the fact that everything we see enters upside down and the brain quietly flips it. In the fact that what we see now took time to reach us, light from the sun, 8 minutes old, light from stars, older than civilization. The eye is a collector of ancient messages, a curator of photons from long ago. And so, as we move through this world of color and light, of brightness and shadow, let us remember that our vision is a translation, not just of the outside world, but of our own place within it. Our eyes, made of flesh and water and nerve, hold within them the reflections of oceans and flames, of faces and dreams. And in their quiet movements, in their silent adjustments to light and dark, they carry the soul's subtle awareness, that to see is to feel, and to feel is to remember. Now let us drift to the edge of vision, where the known meets the imagined, and where the act of seeing folds gently into reflection. The eye is not only a tool of perception, It is a mirror of wonder. Every blink, every glance is a quiet agreement between the body and the world, a shared understanding that light exists and that within it, stories are waiting to be read. When we look at color, we do not simply observe a wavelength. We engage with a feeling, a quiet message passed down through generations of life. There is something deeply human in the way we search the sky for blue. Blue, rare in nature and difficult to make, has always carried a kind of sacred weight. Ancient people crushed lapis lazuli to decorate temples, to mimic the heavens. Later, ultramarine blue became more valuable than gold, reserved for the robes of saints and the cloaks of angels. Yet the sky gives us this color freely, every day, washing our vision with a hue made not from pigment but from scattering, sunlight bouncing through air, shorter wavelengths diffused in every direction. The blue is not in the sky. It is in the way our eyes interpret light's journey through space. And green, the color of leaves, of moss, of early spring, is not just restful to the eye but foundational to our survival. The eye is most sensitive to green light. This may be why forests feel soothing, why grass seems to glow after rain. Our vision is tuned to life, to chlorophyll's promise, to the wavelength where growth resides. In every green field the eye finds home. But not all colors comfort. Red quickens the heart. It is the color of blood, of fire, of ripe fruit. It signals urgency, passion, alertness. Studies show that athletes wearing red perform slightly better, that test takers with red pens feel more pressure, that red rooms increase appetite and energy. This is not magic. It is the deep memory of evolution where red once meant survival, attention, readiness. And yet red also brings warmth, richness, and romance. It is a color of opposites, both danger and desire, alarm and affection. Yellow, bright and bold, lives on the edge of happiness and warning. It is the color of the sun, of flowers turning their heads toward light, of the first crayons drawn by small hands. But it is also the color of caution, of hazard signs, of things that ask to be noticed. The eye catches yellow quickly. It is not subtle. It arrives like a trumpet, cheerful or concerned, depending on context. In this way, color speaks with tone. Even black and white are not truly colors but experiences of contrast. Black is the absence of light, the space between stars, the shadow beneath the tree. White is the combination of all wavelengths, the full chorus of light singing at once. We dress these colors with meaning, purity, grief, beginnings, endings. In art and in vision, contrast gives form. Without darkness, there is no shape. Without light, no edge. And in between them lies gray, the color of fog, of calm, of thought. And then there are the in-betweens, the indigos, the lavenders, the silvers, colors with moods rather than names, hues that exist on the fringe of speech, that shift with light, that change with time of day. The dress that looked blue yesterday appears violet this morning. The sea that seemed green at noon turns charcoal by evening. Color is not fixed. It breathes with us. In the natural world, color serves functions beyond beauty. Peacocks fan their iridescent feathers not merely to attract but to assert. Tree frogs display neon green to say, "I am dangerous." Camouflage hides. Brightness warns. Even the shimmering wing of a dragonfly can confuse a predator, reflecting sun in sharp flashes. Nature does not waste color. It uses it as a language of survival. Yet we humans, with our moonlit eyes, have taken color and turned it into art, symbol, and soul. We paint with it. We light our cities with it. We dye our fabrics and bathe our screens in it. We assign feelings to it, moods to it, hopes to it. A flag is more than fabric, it is color arranged with memory. A bouquet is more than plants, it is emotion arranged in hue. Our inner lives spill outward in color, the blue walls of a bedroom, the red scarf of protest, the gold of celebration. And still, for all our use and understanding, there remains mystery. Why do sunsets stir us so deeply? Why does the shimmer of oil on water catch our breath? Why does light filtering through stained glass feel like prayer? These reactions live in the body, not just the eye. They are ancient, wordless, felt before they are understood. In the quiet hours of evening, when the sun has dipped low and the world turns soft with dusk, the eyes shift again. Rods take over, color fades. The landscape becomes a study in shadow, in shape, in movement, and still we see. We find silhouettes, contours, the shine of a window pane, the movement of leaves in wind. This twilight vision is not lesser. It is gentler, more patient, more still. And when we close our eyes entirely, we do not stop seeing. We dream. In dreams, colors appear unbidden, shaped by thought and memory. A field of violet that never existed. A red door to a room we've never entered. The mind paints freely when untethered from light, and the soul, it seems, sees in stories. So what does it mean to have eyes made of moonlight and color? It means to live between the scientific and the poetic, between photon and feeling. It means to carry within us the memory of starlight, the structure of biology, the capacity for awe. It means that every glance is both measurement and miracle. Our vision is brief, our window small, but within it lies the full range of wonder, from the gold in a grain of sand to the violet curve of the galaxy. And through our eyes, made of cells and dreams, the universe observes itself in color. Beneath our feet, in the stillness of roots and earth, there unfolds a quiet symphony, a world of whispers, pulses, and slow conversations that few ever hear. The soil, so often dismissed as lifeless ground, is alive with movement and music. It holds the memory of rain, the footprints of worms, the pathways of roots, and the breath of ancient stones. While we walk across it with hurried steps, it listens. It listens to the plants, the fungi, the microbes, all humming in frequencies too soft for ears but not too soft for life. The story begins with roots. They do not simply anchor a plant or drink from the dirt. They reach, they feel, they navigate around stones, avoid toxic patches, embrace companions, and sometimes retreat from rivals. At their tips are cells sensitive to touch, pressure, gravity, and moisture. These root tips grow not blindly but with purpose, following signals from water molecules, from fungal threads, even from other plants. Some roots grow toward the sound of water. Others send warning signals when danger nears. Each root, thin and pale, is an explorer, and each carries within it the ability to sense and respond. But roots do not work alone. Their closest and most trusted allies are fungi. Mycorrhizal fungi, ancient and invisible, stretch out from the root in delicate filaments, forming networks that bind entire forests together. These filaments, called hyphae, weave through the soil like threads in a blanket, connecting trees across distance and species. Through them, nutrients travel. A young sapling shaded from sun may receive sugars from an older tree nearby. A birch may send nitrogen to a fir. And if a plant is attacked or infected, chemical warnings move through the fungal network to others, like a message passed down a line of hands. This is the wood wide web, a phrase coined to describe the astonishing communication beneath the forest floor. And it is not just the fungi. The soil itself is a library of life. In 1 teaspoon of healthy soil, there may be billions of microbes, bacteria, archaea, protozoa, nematodes, each with a role, a rhythm, a function. Some fix nitrogen from the air, making it usable for plants. Others break down dead matter, releasing nutrients. Some form films on root surfaces, shielding them from disease. These microbes are not isolated. They talk using chemical signals, electrical pulses, and molecular exchanges. Soil is not quiet, it is symphonic. When rain falls, it is not merely water soaking in. It is a signal. Raindrops change pressure in the soil, trigger movements in dormant microbes, wake sleeping spores. The smell of rain, petrichor, rises from oils released by bacteria awakened by moisture. Earth breathes more deeply after rain, not figuratively but literally, releasing carbon dioxide, drawing in oxygen, adjusting its microbial metabolism in response to saturation. And plants, rooted in place, send messages upward and outward in response. When a root senses drought, it releases hormones like abscisic acid, which travel to the leaves and prompt the stomata to close, reducing water loss. When a root is wounded, it may release jasmonic acid, triggering a defense response. These chemical conversations allow the plant to function as one organism, though it is stretched across different realms, part above ground, dancing in the light, part below ground, immersed in shadow and touch. Roots can even remember. Experiments show that root tips exposed to certain patterns of vibration or chemical stimulus can adjust their behavior over time. They grow differently. They change direction. They respond not just to the immediate environment but to past experiences, an echo of memory carried in cells without brains, without nerves, but not without intelligence. And what of sound? Can roots hear? Some studies suggest they can. In labs, root growth has been shown to respond to specific frequencies, growing toward the sound of water pipes, vibrating at pitches that mimic insect movements. This acoustic sensitivity may help roots find resources, avoid threats, or coordinate with neighbors. The soil, then, is not only a world of chemistry but of sound, low and slow and continuous, a music without melody but rich in meaning. Even the decay that happens underground is not an end but a transformation. Fallen leaves, dead insects, dropped seeds, they do not vanish. They are taken in, decomposed by fungi and bacteria, converted into humus, the dark, rich matter that holds nutrients and moisture. In this process, energy is released, heat generated, gases exchanged. The earth digests and remembers, and in spring it gives back. Worms move through the soil like silent composers, aerating, mixing, creating channels for air and water. Their castings, the material they excrete, are richer in nutrients than the surrounding soil. In their movement they shape the soundscape of the earth. Tiny stones shift, pores open, pathways form, nothing is wasted, everything is recycled. And as above, so below. The diversity of plant life above ground is mirrored in complexity beneath. Tall grasses in a prairie may have roots deeper than their height, intertwining in layers. A single tree's root system may stretch as wide as its canopy. Together with the fungal networks, the microbial clouds, the chemical messengers, they form a community, not of isolated individuals, but of mutual support. The soil is not a background, it is a participant. It listens when we walk, when we dig, when we plant. It remembers the tread of hooves, the fall of rain, the fire of sunlight breaking through after storm. And beneath it all, the symphony plays on slow and deep, inaudible but real, written in pulses and ions, in breath and rot and bloom. To place your hand on the earth is to touch history. To kneel in the garden is to kneel among billions. To pull a carrot from the ground is to break a line of communication, brief, respectful, shared. In every grain of soil lies a fragment of ancient rhythm, from the first mosses to the last rootlet, all connected, all ongoing. And so the soil speaks, not in words but in chemistry, not in notes but in balance. And if you grow still enough and quiet enough and let your thoughts settle like silt in water, you might begin to hear it. Let us sink further now, into the deeper layers where time moves even slower, where the roots taper into threads and the voices of the soil grow older and more patient. Below the hum of daily life, beneath the quick activity of insects and roots, lies a subterranean stillness, a space where ancient minerals wait and the echoes of old forests linger. The soil is not just a surface. It is a cathedral of layers, each one formed by centuries of weather, decay, and breath. The topsoil, rich and dark, holds the recent memory of life. Beneath it lies subsoil, denser, paler, more reserved. And further still, a bed of rock and clay where water moves slowly and whispers carry far. Each layer has a different rhythm. In the topmost humus, the dance is quick, microbes multiplying, roots branching, insects feeding, dying, transforming. In the subsoil, the dance is slower, a waltz of ions and minerals, of calcium and iron, of phosphates released one molecule at a time. Plants stretch their roots into this realm to sip what the surface cannot offer. And deeper yet, at the interface of soil and rock, the oldest dialogues occur, where water brushes stone and extracts nutrients that were once part of ancient mountains, now returning to life in the body of a tree. This silent exchange between stone and root is the foundation of terrestrial life. Rocks dissolve slowly in the presence of water and acids released by roots and fungi. They release potassium, magnesium, and trace metals. These elements travel upward, drawn by capillary action and root pressure, becoming part of leaves and fruits and seeds. And when these fall, decay, and return to soil, the cycle continues. The minerals that once formed a cliff may now color a petal. The creatures of the deep soil are specialists of darkness. Blind, pale, and slow-moving, they navigate by vibration and scent. Some mites feed on fungal spores. Some springtails flick themselves through narrow tunnels. Earthworms, ancient and patient, tunnel steadily, creating aeration that allows other life to breathe. Their movements are not random. They follow gradients of moisture, of pH, of microbial presence. To them, the soil is not inert matter. It is a map of energies. Fungi extend even deeper into this realm. Some species of mycorrhizal fungi reach down meters into the ground, forming thick cords that resemble roots themselves. These fungal pathways can persist for decades, surviving droughts, rebuilding after fire, reconnecting fragmented patches of forest. They are the slow thinkers of the soil, not impulsive, not reactive, but deliberate and enduring. When two trees share the same mycorrhizal partner, they become part of a shared system. Their roots, though separate, are woven into a single breath. And when plants grow together in a community, they often synchronize their rhythms. Tall trees may stagger their blooming times to avoid competition. Shrubs may adjust their root growth to avoid overlapping too much. All of this negotiation happens underground in the dark and silence. It is a kind of diplomacy, not enforced by laws but shaped by feedback. When one plant suffers, its neighbors may offer help. When one thrives too greedily, the balance is disturbed. The soil responds with feedback loops, slowing growth here, enhancing resistance there. It is not a perfect harmony, but it is a dynamic one. Even seeds, waiting beneath the surface, listen. Some will not germinate unless they hear specific cues, the rumble of hooves, the warmth of fire, the rhythm of rainfall. Some seeds remain dormant for years, even decades, biding their time until the soil says yes. In the desert, seeds wait for rare rains. In forests, they wait for gaps in the canopy. They carry within them a knowledge of timing, ancient, intuitive, inherited. In the Arctic tundra, where the ground stays frozen most of the year, a thin layer of soil above the permafrost still manages to host microbial life. These microbes thaw and activate each summer, respiring slowly, transforming ancient organic matter into carbon dioxide and methane. This process, long dormant, is now accelerating with global warming. The soil is speaking again, but with urgency. The breath of the earth, once stable, now quickens. Yet not all messages are warnings. Some are invitations. Farmers and gardeners have long known the value of compost, the art of feeding soil with decaying matter. Compost brings not only nutrients but community, a rewilding of microbial diversity, a chorus of decomposers that enliven tired soil. The scent of rich compost is earthy and warm, not unpleasant but grounding, a perfume of renewal. When added to soil, it sparks movement. Roots grow more eagerly. Fungi colonize more quickly. The dance resumes. And the soil remembers its guests. Plants grown repeatedly in the same place attract specific microbial partners. Some microbes specialize in helping legumes fix nitrogen. Others defend tomatoes from fungal disease. These relationships deepen with time. A garden is not just a collection of plants. It is a biography of choices, of seasons, of invisible alliances. This memory is not eternal. It fades if the soil is left barren, if it is compacted or stripped by erosion. But when protected, the memory deepens. Old-growth forests have soil communities that reflect centuries of continuity. Each fallen branch, each burst of rain adds to the narrative. Even fire, when natural and occasional, becomes part of the rhythm. Some pine cones only open after fire. Some seeds only germinate in ash-rich soil. Destruction is folded into rebirth. And beneath our modern cities, this ancient world still hums. Tree roots snake through cracks in pavement. Fungi cling to the soil beneath sidewalks. Microbes persist in planters, boulevards, and abandoned lots. The soil does not forget how to sing, even when muffled. It waits for a crack in the surface, a little water, a little light. The soil is not separate from us. The minerals in our bones once passed through root and leaf. The iron in our blood was once rust in stone. The calcium in our teeth was once part of shell and coral, weathered by wind and sea. When we eat, we ingest sunlight made solid through soil. When we breathe, we inhale the exhalations of roots and rot and bloom. To listen to the soil is to slow down, to kneel, to press ear or hand to ground, to ask without words what stories it holds, and in return it offers not answers but patience, a kind of stillness that nourishes more than hunger, a reminder that life does not rush. That connection is slow, that all things rooted are part of something wider, an unseen harmony beneath the surface of things. Now let us drift gently toward closure, where the music of soil softens into a lullaby and the rhythms we've uncovered dissolve into quiet understanding. For all its complexity and depth, the soil asks for very little in return. It does not boast. It does not demand. It simply offers, holding the roots of forests and the seeds of flowers, the bones of ancestors and the ash of stars. It is both the end of things and the beginning. Every breath you take is tethered to it. Every meal, every step, every bloom, the soil is not beneath us. It is part of us. Across the world, cultures have recognized this for generations. In some traditions, people bless the ground before planting. Others leave offerings to the land at harvest, a strand of hair, a whispered thanks, a single grain of rice. In these gestures is humility and the recognition that life does not grow alone. The farmer depends on the field. The field depends on the rain. The rain depends on the winds and the sea. And beneath it all, the soil listens not as a servant but as a witness. The soil is ancient, but it is not eternal. It forms slowly over centuries through the grinding of rocks, the falling of leaves, the decay of roots, the trampling of animals. An inch of rich topsoil might take hundreds of years to develop, and yet with one strong storm, one season of careless tilling, it can be lost. The dust storms of the past, vast, choking winds that turned skies red and families homeless, were not simply weather events. They were the voice of soil in distress, a cry that it was being asked to give more than it could. Still, soil heals. Given rest, given care, it returns. Cover crops, compost, reduce tillage, reforestation, all these are acts of listening. They say, "We remember you," they say, "You are not forgotten." And the soil responds not with words but with life. Earthworms return. Microbes awaken. Fungi weave again. The breath of the land deepens. The color darkens. The rhythm steadies. In the cracks between sidewalk stones, wildflowers grow. Dandelions push upward with astonishing strength, their roots finding the narrowest seams of earth. In abandoned lots, pioneer species, hardy grasses, mosses, clover arrive first, calling back the mycelium, the beetle, the beet seed. Even in cities, the soil never truly vanishes. It waits, and when the moment comes, it sings. There are places on Earth where the soil glows, not with light but with abundance. The terra preta of the Amazon, made centuries ago by indigenous communities, is one such soil. Dark, rich, alive with microorganisms, it defies the poor fertility of the region. Made with charcoal, food waste, and broken pottery, it is an ancient collaboration between human and earth, soil not taken but made, and it continues to grow more fertile with time. Even today, it teaches us, the ground we walk on is not fixed, it can be loved into greatness. And so too can we. When we feel unrooted, the soil offers grounding. When we feel scattered, it teaches cohesion. It holds all things together, rain and root, death and birth, memory and possibility. It does not resist change, but it absorbs it. It composts loss into nourishment. It turns endings into beginnings. To walk barefoot on soil is to receive its wisdom through your soles. To smell the scent of fresh earth is to inhale a language older than speech. That scent, geosmin, is produced by bacteria in the genus Streptomyces, the same microbes that give us antibiotics. The smell of earth after rain is the scent of healing, of medicine, of microbial poetry rising to meet the sky. We come from soil in the deepest sense. Our earliest ancestors rose from forest and savanna, their feet dusted with the same minerals that shaped their bones. Our food, our fibers, our pigments, our shelter, all drawn from soil. Even our stories are rooted there. The mythologies of many peoples speak of humans shaped from clay, from dust, from loam, breathed into life and returned to earth in the end. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, but with reverence, not finality. Because the soil does not end us, it transforms us. What falls into the soil becomes something else, absorbed, metabolized, reimagined. A fallen leaf becomes humus. A dead bird becomes phosphorus. A forgotten seed becomes a forest. In the great silence beneath us, transformation is always taking place. And in that silence is a promise. The promise that nothing is wasted. That even the smallest life, a mite, a nematode, a filament of fungus matters. That everything is connected, not in metaphor, but in mineral and molecule. That the ground beneath us is not only a place to stand, but a place to belong. Let us walk more gently. Let us kneel more often. Let us listen, not with ears, but with presence. Let the sound of roots stretching, of worms tunneling, of carbon breathing rise within us like music. Let us remember that life does not move only upward. It spirals downward too, into memory, into foundation, into soil. And in that remembering, may we find peace. May we feel held, not just by air and sky, but by the rich, dark, humming earth, the quiet symphony beneath our feet.